Welcome, everyone. Hi, how everyone is doing today? Well, it's now afternoon time. Hi, everyone. My name is Raisa Yogivilka, and I am Program Manager at EarthForce. And with me, it's Alisa McConkey, our Chief Program Manager.
Hi.
So I'll just share a little bit about EarthForce. So at EarthForce, our goal is to engage young people as active citizens who improve the environment and their communities now and in the future. EarthForce is home of Environmental Action Civics movement. Environmental Action Civics is an educational approach where youth work in partnership with adults to identify a local environmental issue and engage with community members to take action by advocating for systemic changes to policies and practices. A central element of environmental action civics is to prepare youth to engage in local environmental decision making. So today we are really happy to be hosting this amazing youth panel, and we are pleased to give them a space to share their stories and experiences when making amazing changes in their local communities. We're looking to get to know them better, to learn from them, and grow together as a community, looking to make sustainable changes in our local communities. I'll just share that we have with us here Raul from Texas. Congratulations on the PIA award. Anna from Alaska, and she was just recently in Disney Channel. Hayden from California. I know you've been doing a lot of stuff talking to your school board. Ben from Virginia, changing policies, and Mia from Virginia as well. Participated twice on caring for our watersheds. I would love for each one of you to introduce yourself. You can share with us who you are, what do you do, and where you're located. You probably already said that. Let's start with Anna.
Yep. So hi everyone. My name is Anna Duvall. I'm the creative promoter of Pollinators, and I'm from Soldotna, Alaska.
I'll pass it to Ben.
Hello, I'm Ben Del Negro from Virginia, part of Standing for Tomorrow, student-based advocacy group. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'll pass it to Hayden.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hayden. I'm from California. I'm the founder of Go Greenish, which is a student policy organization that works with school boards to implement climate measures in schools.
I'll pass it to Mia. I think you're muted, Mia.
Hi, my name is Mia. I am a student change maker in Virginia.
And Raul?
Hi, my name is Rahul Vijayan. I'm a junior in high school in Texas, and I'm the CEO and founder of my nonprofit Farm to Tray, which is seeking to accelerate hydroponic infrastructure in schools across the nation.
This is going to be an amazing conversation with you guys. We have so much to learn from you, and I'm really excited to actually be guiding this conversation. So to the audience, if you have any questions to this amazing youth panel, please feel free to share them in the chat. We'll be showing them throughout this stream. But now let's start with the first question. So why is it important to involve youth voices in climate action? And I'll just start with you, Hayden, if that's okay.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Just why is it important to involve youth voices? And I think, a lot of policymakers, I work a lot in policy, and I think a lot of people have this idea that, it's important to listen to youth voices, but they kind of leave out that critical component, which is to involve youth voices, right? It's really important that right now we're really focused in policy on climate mitigation. So saying we're going to have this problem we're really going to face it in the future. And so saying, hey, let's solve it now, let's mitigate the issues. But we should also be looking into the fact that in the future, we're going to have to adapt to the problems that already exist. And so we need to prepare our youth to be the next sustainable leaders of tomorrow. We need to involve them in the processes now so that they're prepared to make the big decisions and to, face climate change and adapt to climate change in the future. So I think it's really critical that not only policymakers, but leaders in the fields acknowledge that youth are the future leaders and climate change is going to get worse in the future. the recent IPCC report really talked about how it's just going to get worse in the next 30 years, and how it's really important that people today, the young people today, are equipped and ready to meet the needs for tomorrow. So
that is so true. You guys have to be part of this conversation. Mia, do you want to share something with us?
I think kids have great ideas too. Like, we see things from different perspectives than adults do. And whatever happens today happens, like, for the future. It'll impact our future and the world that we will live in.
That is so true. Raul, do you want to share with us your experience?
Yeah, so kind of what Hayden and Mia said, the youth is the next generation. We're the people who will be, disproportionately affected by climate change. And, it's our futures that are being impacted. And since we're younger, we're often more apt to new technologies and new ways to kind of counteract climate change. And I think it's really important to not just like listen to youth, but to actually engage and involve them to help us help the world adopt these new sustainable practices.
Yeah, that's so true. Anna, do you want to share with us your perspective on this?
Yeah, so I believe that it's important for youth to be involved in environmental action because we're the generation whose future is going to be shaped by the choices we make today. We've got to stand up and take on the responsibility of shaping that future now before it's too late and all the decisions have been made without us. And like Hayden said, if we get involved early as youth, we get to learn from the decision makers now and see how they work at solving a problem, see what the process is. So we have a better understanding of how to make a change when we are the ones in charge.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. What about you, Ben?
I kind of agree with what everyone's saying. I mean, we are the future. We are the people that are going to be dealing with these problems, in 20 years. So we are dealing with it now. We're going to deal with an even worse problem in the future. I think to kind of add on to what everybody said, specifically for my group, Standing for Tomorrow, we focused on specific environmental issues in our school. And so what it kind of taught me is that through that process, we as students are experiencing these challenges. We are experiencing the effects of these problems day to day at a level that I think a lot of adults don't really get to realize. A lot of people in charge don't experience it in the school building every single day. So specifically, we dealt with mold in our school that was caused by a lot of poor management and a bunch of other environmental factors. So we were there in the building with the mold, so we were being affected every day. So we kind of brought that different perspective that I think otherwise wouldn't have been brought to the conversation and wouldn't have led to any change happening.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know that you're mentioning that about Ben, about your project. I actually will love to hear about each one of your projects, and maybe tell us a little bit more about your experience about asking for a change to adults. I bet everyone here wants to know, what is your project about? What are the things that you did, and how were you able to ask for a change to adults and decision makers? Actually, yeah. I'll start with Anna.
So I started Pop Promoter Pollinators back in 2018, and it's an internationally environmental program that's designed to educate others about the importance of pollinators and why their numbers are declining, while providing ways to promote their population growth and inspiring the next generation to be good stewards of our natural resources. So the main things that I did were outreach and also providing ways to promote pollinator growth. So I created flyers, activity books, promotional items like stickers and reusable tote bags, pollinator packs, which are 6-pack pots that contain 6 different pollinator-friendly plants. I grew and distributed, I think the final number came out to be around 2,000 of those pollinator packs, and distributed them around my community to provide the food sources that pollinators need at frequent intervals. I went into schools, did presentations, just teaching others about pollinators, educating them about what we need to do to help their populations, because they are incredibly important. And so that's Promoter Pollinators. And over the past 5 years, I've also had a lot of opportunities to work with decision makers in my community. And some of the experiences that I had were amazing and others not so good. For example, there was a time when I reached out to a decision maker over email, and he was excited and willing to work with me on a project I proposed. But eventually, after about 2 months of work, he found out that I was a teenager, and I never got a response from him again. But most adults I've worked with were incredibly kind and supportive and excited to see a young person trying to make a difference. They were willing to listen, they provided support through things like donations, outreach opportunities, and more. I had garden signs put up in our cities, and they accepted an online class that I created. They let that be part of the state standards. I was able to get that implemented in a couple schools. So yeah.
That's amazing, Anna. I know you just also managed to get some pollinator gardens in different towns, parts of your town, if I'm not wrong, with support of your policymakers, or how that worked.
Yep. So I got pollinator garden signs put up in our community spaces, and I've definitely been seeing a lot more like wildflowers and more pollinator friendly plants in our vicinity. So
that's great. That's great and amazing work, Anna. Mia, do you want to share with us about your project and how was your experience talking to adults and decision makers?
Yeah. Last school year, my friend Emma asked Mr. Mosley, the teacher who leads the Herndon Elementary School Eco Bees Club, if we could start a team of students who want to preserve our land and protect our environment. With Mr. Mosley's help, we were able to create our team, who we have been able to go international with caring for our watersheds with our Purple Martin team. And we had like 4 teams go for the caring for our watersheds project again this year, and 2 of them are in the finals, so we'll find out who wins tomorrow.
Yay, that must be exciting. Did you talk with any policy maker doing your project, or how was it?
Well, so for this year, we are going to be talking to our mayor because I'm in a monarch butterfly project, and at our school there aren't many monarch butterflies, and we want to increase the population. So we want to talk to our mayor about doing a monarch mile, where we ask a mile of houses in our community to like stop using pesticides, so that monarchs can like be in their backyards and gardens and stuff.
Oh, that sounds amazing. If I'm not wrong, butterflies are also pollinators, that maybe Anna can help you with that, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. That would be fun.
Yeah. So Ben, do you want to share with us your experience?
Sure. So our project started in 7th grade with our science teacher at the time. It originally started as a science fair project where we tested the levels of mold throughout different different classrooms in our school. With that data, we started kind of taking it to the next level. Our teacher had kind of been familiar with projects like this before, but not to this degree. So we were we started by doing a lot of research, because I think research is really important when you're presenting to people in power. You need to show that you have the data to back up what you're saying. So we did a lot of research, we made presentations, and then we reached out to local stakeholders and people in power around our community, starting in our city of Alexandria. And then from there, we kind of, we hopped from person to person, kind of building off what we learned per presentation to these people. We did other things. We organized a petition, and we got some people around in our local community to sign that, as well as everyone that we presented to. And originally, our goal was to get policy changed at the local level at our school board. However, unfortunately, they were not as helpful as we thought they were when we started our journey. So we decided to take it to the next level, to the state level, which we were able to get support from our local senator, Senator Adam Eben, who was very helpful in our process. And he kind of took our ideas, and with our help and with kind of our guidance from what we had learned, helped kind of bring in that legislative mindset to it, and was able to craft a legislative proposal that we were able to go to Richmond to and propose in front of the Senate subcommittee. And eventually it culminated in us being able to get a law passed at the Virginia state level that basically required schools across Virginia to more kind of strictly test for mold, and if found, kind of create a plan to remediate it, because there hadn't been any sort of legislation about that in the Virginia state law.
Wow, that's amazing, Ben. How was the process to ask for a legislation, like, to be passed? How long did it took? I'm just curious to know more about that.
It was definitely very daunting, especially when I was in 7th grade. The process to when we first started to getting the law passed, I believe we got it done right before the pandemic. Actually, we went down to Richmond around the start of 2020, and it was a long process, but I think it was very helpful for me, because I think when you start out in that 7th grade classroom, you kind of you don't realize how much impact your voice can have. So I think kind of going on this process and kind of building up one by one each presentation, we definitely grew a lot more confident with each passing time, until eventually, we were able to speak confidently in front of adults, because that isn't an easy thing for a lot of kids, especially in younger years, younger grades. So yeah, it was a tough journey, but we kind of just kept on going. We were definitely told no along the way, but we just kept on going until that didn't matter, which was awesome.
I love it. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Raul, do you want to share with us your journey and your experiences on talking to policymakers?
Yeah, definitely. So my project is focusing on expanding hydroponic infrastructure in schools across the nation. So hydroponics is a method of growing plants without the use of soil, GMOs, artificial fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. And so basically I'm trying to help curb poor child nutrition in American public schools. And additionally, by utilizing hydroponic infrastructure, we're kind of shifting the traditional education from a very textbook heavy style of learning to a more project based style of learning, which offers a more well-rounded learning experience in various STEM concepts. And so I started off by expanding a hydroponic garden in my school, Shadow Creek High School, back in this year was the first year, when this is 2022. That's when August 2022, we implemented the first hydroponic garden. And from there, I've slowly expanded to schools across my district. And right now, I've expanded hydroponics to 30 schools in 3 different states, Texas, New York, and California, which is impacting over 25,000 students. And we've done this by giving away free hydroponic infrastructure, which I acquired through various grants. And so, through this experience, I've definitely dealt with many different adults and decision and policymakers, starting from just my school and my school district to kind of getting purchasing approvals and, approvals for the system to kind of different states, different schools, and different grant organizations. And, I think it's really, really beneficial and impactful for adults to help support these students, because, helping, cultivate these interests and passions and these projects at a young age is, significant and can lead to really good changes in projects like all the people here on the panel today. So
yeah. That's amazing, Raul. I know that you were recently also approached by another organization, to expand also this in a hospital, if I'm not wrong, setting. You want to share that?
Yeah. So in addition to schools, we've expanded hydroponic infrastructure to a Methodist, the oncology department here in the Texas Medical Center, because patients can utilize these plants as kind of a healing garden to help aid in their recovery and boost their morale. And so, we had a hospital reach out, and, the company I'm working with, Moonflower Farms, we're also working with them to expand hydroponics to Kroger's, which is a supermarket chain in my area, and HEBs.
That's
to help kind of, just to help kind of teach people about hydroponics and introduce them in, outside of the school life and the home life as well.
Yeah. I saw that you made a little conference, I think earlier this year, with the help of NASA, and you were giving those little hydroponic kits, which is amazing. I would totally recommend you guys getting one of those. It's a really good way to start. Um, Hayden, I would love to hear about your organization and your experiences on talking to policymakers.
Yeah, so just for a little context, Go Greenish, that's the organization I started along with some people at my high school. And it's basically, we kind of identified a problem, which was that climate change was at the bottom of the priorities in the school district and in a lot of school districts, even in places that had very, like cities and counties that were working very hard. I'm in San Diego, I'm in California, and, we're doing a lot of really good things, but school districts were not really focused on it, even though they're a key component of decarbonization. And so we started just by saying, how do we, as students, tell the district, we want you to do something? And we found it really important that, number one, we were students. All these, the school board members and all the district staff realize that the work they're doing is for students inherently. And so when they hear, an ask from a student, it's a lot different than if they hear an ask from an adult or someone that isn't actually in the schools. And so we asked our committee, or we asked our school district, we said, let's work on implementing a climate committee on our school district, on our school board, to work on creating an implementation plan to implement climate pathways and measures throughout the district, create a plan to decarbonize our infrastructure and our buildings, create a plan to implement natural solutions on campus, whether that be gardens, whether that be, implementing more greenery, and working on electrification, working on increasing on-site renewable energy, and how we also made sure to be very open about all the federal money and the state money that's available right now through various programs, such as like the Inflation Reduction Act. And we're very prompt to our district about, here's how you can do it. It's feasible. As Ben said, it's really important to go up to a person, an adult, someone that, you're asking for something, go up to them with research and with receipts and how you can actually achieve something, feasibly, conscious of budget, conscious of personnel. But we still found, asking adults is that it's on the bottom of a lot of people's lists, especially in school districts. A lot of people think, that's, whatever, the bottom. We have so many more problems in school districts and school boards are constantly swamped with politics and crazy things, even though they're on such local level. And, so, as students, it was difficult to, find timing to ask for a committee. But right now we are in our process of opening one in our own district and spreading different committees into other school districts surrounding us that represent over 100,000 students. So we're hoping that, by the end of this year, by the end of 2023, we see a lot more going on with that. Talking to a lot of board members, talking to a lot of representatives, I think it's really important that students are asking the questions and not adults. I think a lot of people find that, but we've also had a lot of bad responses from board members. We've had a lot of no responses from board members. It's just it's a process and it takes a lot of time. I'm a firm believer that politics is not going to wait on climate change, politics is not going to wait on climate change. Oh wait, climate change is not going to wait on politics. Hold on, I'm getting confused there. But anyways, that, we can, have political stuff going on, but climate change is still getting worse at the same time. And so we need to be focusing on, the true problems that matter to us. And I think also it's very critical that schools understand that they are kind of creating the next generation of leaders and the next generation of people that will, help us adapt to the climate crisis. Such as the wonderful students that are on this call. And so it's really important that schools are doing this, doing their part and making a difference. And so that's kind of what we do. And, we've gotten a lot of great responses and a lot of not great responses from adults, but it's really important that, you back up your information with research and you ask because you're a student.
That's amazing, Hayden. I love that. I know that recently you were with the San Diego School Board doing a presentation, and I just was curious, how did you manage to get, to present in there? What was the steps? What did you did?
Yeah, so I mean, I think what's really important is to understand that there are people in communities that want to talk to you. I think that I'm a young person and I have a passion, and a lot of adults share this similar passion. And so talking to people, talking around, and I ended up actually talking to one of our the current now board president, and working in my local city, which is of about like 10,000 residents, so very small city. And she was working in that city, and then she ran for school board and won, became the board president. And so I kind of went and approached her, and I said, hey, like, we have this presentation, we're really interested in starting this initiative in our own school district. And we talked to her, she got us on the agenda, and it was a very quick process, just understanding that people want to hear what we have to say. That's why people are on this call. People want to hear what young people have to say, and people want to involve us. Some people don't, and that's always going to happen. But there are people that do. And so to kind of make sure that you're engaging in, different communities and your city and your neighborhood and your school district, talking to a lot of people want to hear from you, and people want to involve you. People are very interested in what you have to say. And while other people are not, that's, you've kind of got to just kind of tune them out and work with the people that want to hear what you want to say, and do your best. We got a lot of poor feedback on our presentation from, outsider adults. We got, Twitter comments, very political, on, a simple presentation from students. And you kind of just have to ignore that and understand that there are amazing people on this school board that wanted to hear what we had to say, wanted to hear how we can impact our school and how we can make a difference.
That's amazing, Hayden. You guys are doing an amazing work. I feel like at your age, I wasn't doing any of that. I was still learning, probably learning to match my clothes. But anyway, I'm really happy, guys, to hear your stories and your journey. This is amazing. And me now as an adult, I would love to know, how can we better support you? So I would love to hear, guys, maybe advice for adults. What can we do to better support youth like you? How can we be really good allies? So let's start with you, Raul.
Yeah, I think adults can be really beneficial to helping aid students into creating projects and meaningful changes. I think helping them get some resources and opportunities to kind of engage in different meaningful activities. And the big thing is listening to these young students' voices, once again, kind of hearing their ideas and concerns, and even help amplify that to help advocate for policies that prioritize sustainability and climate change and climate action, and to really just create a safe space for young students to express themselves and receive feedback on their efforts, and cultivate these young students to be the next generation of leaders and great thinkers.
Yeah, that's true. Mia, do you have any suggestions for adults that are looking to be really good allies and partners to youth?
One thing adults could do is just listen to all of the ideas that we have and like the comments. Like when we share an idea or thought, like they don't like interrupt us or like try to make it kind of like what they want to do instead of like what youth have. Another thing is just like ask questions so that you clearly understand what we're all saying, and so that whatever we want like can happen, because it's probably like the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes as adults, we want to guide the conversation, and it's like, hey, push a little bit our ideas to you. But yes, being more open-minded, and you just, be their active listeners to your ideas. That's a really good advice. What about you, Anna? Do you have any suggestion?
Yeah, so I totally agree with you guys that really the most valuable thing an adult can do to support young change makers is to listen, hear us out, and be excited that we have good, achievable ideas about how we can make the world a better place as well. I also think that a good way to be a good ally is to be willing to help. We may have ideas and a will to make a change, but often we don't have the influence that we need to accomplish that goal. We don't have the connections that you do. We don't have the influence that you do to get people who are in positions of authority to listen to our ideas and take us seriously. And you have the ability to help us by opening doors to those people and to opportunities that we would never have had access to on our own.
That is true. That is true. Connecting you to other folks. Um, that's a good point, Anna. Ben, do you have any suggestion?
Sure. So I think kind of what we've all touched on so far, the biggest thing that adults can do is to just listen, to kind of provide that safe space for young kids to share their ideas, because that is, I think, a problem for a lot of kids, especially at young age in middle school and even in high school, is they feel like their voice doesn't matter, that they need to meet some sort of age threshold for their ideas to count towards something positive, and that's just not true. Anyone at any age can do something as long as they have the determination to continue on and the support from people around them. And so I think that the biggest thing adults can do is to listen, is to actively listen. And also kind of what we've touched on is not only listen, but also physically help. Because it's one thing to say, I support you, and it's another one to actually support them. So, I mean, that can be something as small as signing a petition, or it can be even bigger, like using your influence to contact others in positions of power, or, spreading the message. Spreading the message is another important thing, because if you're going to be making change in your community, you need the support from the community. So, yeah, I think the biggest thing that adults can do is kind of just, keep that conversation going with these students. It isn't just like a one-off conversation, but like actively show that you want to support them.
Yeah, and I just wanna highlight what you said, community, that word. Sometimes community is not just the world of adults, but it's also youth, and you are part of there as well, and I like that you're mentioning, it's like, hey, we're allies and we're part of this community. So both of us can just build this a youth adult partnership, to make this change that is gonna benefit everyone as a whole. Really good. Hayden, do you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I totally agree with everyone about the listening. I think that's really a critical piece. I think actually that adults can go a step further. I think that, listening is very important, but what is even more important is including and involving in decisions, and not only listening to actually teach students and youth, but also learn from them and hear their ideas and involve them in, policy making processes. So, I mean, when we presented to our school board, we got, responses from most of the trustees, and a lot of them said, great presentation. I love to hear what you have to say. Right. But my favorite response were the ones that said, I want to meet with you. I want to talk to you. I want to see what you have to say. And I want to involve you on how we can actually make your ideas a reality, and how I can use my, position as the trustee and my connections and my knowledge, my college degree, whatever. And I want to take your ideas and I want to turn them into reality. That's what I like to hear. I don't like to hear, great presentation. I love hearing from the youth. That's great too. But I love when they go even a step further. And I mean, I think, replacing that kind of idea that, we should listen, in our city, we just created and revised a new county climate action plan. And, the way they kind of did outreach was through like forums and engagement panels, but they didn't actually get any youth, any young people to come in and just say their ideas and just, implement, a young person or a young, group of people to be part of that whole process, and creating such an important and critical, plan for the county. And that's really what I want to see. And I think as an adult, what you can do is not only just say, I want to hear from you, but say, I want to involve you. If you're a part of a sustainable, if you're in a company or something, that you want youth to be a part of your company, you want some interns, maybe you want people to learn from what you have to say and also bring their perspective and their fresh youth ideas to your company, because you can mutually be benefited from each other. And instead of, if you're in policy, instead of, on our local climate action commission in my city of 10,000 residents, instead of, having a youth engagement panel, once a year or whatever to create your climate action plan, implement junior commissioner positions on the commission so that they can come to every meeting, give their perspective, and give their voice. So, I mean, that's really how I think that the narrative should really be scripted, is that how adults don't, listen to us. Yes, 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 please do be an active listener, but also go a step further if you really want to be a true climate champion and involve us and, and teach us. We want to learn from you, but we hope that you also want to hear from us, and we can, be in that mutually beneficial relationship, and, equip the next student leaders to become, climate leaders in the future, and when we actually really need to face the effects of climate change in like 20, 30 years.
That's amazing. Now that you mentioned that, we should implement that, having a youth committee in every single town at every government level. That would be really good. It's not just saying thank you for your ideas, clap clap. It's just really involving you in the process. That's amazing, Hayden. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm just gonna go off script here, and I would love, that this week is Teacher Appreciations Week, and I would love to hear about your educators or your adults in your life that have influenced you, and the work that you do. So let's start with you, Hayden.
So adults that have kind of impacted my life, I would say a few people. I mean, my climate kind of passion came from my family, because we, all have lived in like coastal California towns, and, beach has been a really critical part of our lifestyle. And so, we really believe they influenced me and they helped me. But I also think too, I've had some, in terms of just actual climate work, I think that, talking about that mutually beneficial relationship, is that I've had really good engagements with people in my school board and people in my city that have listened to my ideas and evolved my ideas into, what we can do in our city and what we can do in our school board. And I think those are the kind of adults that really inspire me and help me continue to, feel my passion. And yeah. I think you're muted.
Thank you, Hayden. Yeah. What about you, Mia? Do you want to share with us?
Someone who's inspired me and helped me on the way is definitely Mr. Mosley. He's our ecotech teacher at my school, and he's the one who leads our club and who helps us with the ideas. And he definitely has listened to all of our ideas, and he's helped us create these awesome teams who have made these projects and hopefully will make a change in the world someday.
That's amazing. What about you, Raul?
Yeah, so for me, kind of the biggest teacher that's helped my project is Miss Oliver. She's the head of the science department at my school. She's been truly instrumental in helping my project even come to fruition, from listening to my ideas from the very beginning to kind of aiding me along the process from implementation and now to helping with other schools. And, I think this is something that all young people should know, kind of when they're trying to tackle these projects, is that you'll be faced with many no's throughout your life and process, but it's just like getting one yes or some help from one teacher that can really help push your project along and kind of bring it to life. And so for me, that was Miss Oliver in my school. And yeah, of course, the school board for me, who's been, a great help and very supportive, and my principal, Mr. Rhodes.
That's amazing. Thank you, Raul. What about you, Anna?
So my family has supported me the whole way, every step of the way. They've been right there helping me staple activity books together and sticking plant tags together and all of that. And I've made so many wonderful community connections to people in the school district, business owners, people in government. So many wonderful people who have been willing to help me through grants, through advice, through support, in getting my message out there. But yeah, I'm very thankful for all the people who have been involved and helped make POP what it is today.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say thank you, Shona. What about you, Ben?
So for me, I think, our entire kind of organization that we formed couldn't have been made without the support from our 7th grade science teacher, Miss Breslin. She was the one that kind of guided us in the beginning stages in the project. that turned that science fair project into something greater, into what it is now. She was incredibly supportive and kind of pushed us to go further, because I feel like that's a lot of the time kids at young ages are kind of afraid to take that next step, because again, they don't realize how important their voice is yet. So for an adult like Miss Breslin um, to have that passion for education, to push her students to do something greater, to have a profound effect on their community, I think is really important. I touched on it before, but Mr. Eben as well was extremely important to kind of pushing our project to the next level, to the state level, and kind of helping us with his legislative expertise to kind of mold our ideas and our thoughts and our research into something that could be presented at the state level.
Yeah, that's amazing. If any of you guys listening to this amazing youth have any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. We'll love to just share it with them, and they can answer your, any question that you might have. I'll just review really quick the chat, and I can see a really cool question. If you can sum up your vision for the future in one word, what would it be? That's a really good question. So let's start with you, Raul.
I guess if I could sum up the future with one word, my vision for the future with one word. I think there's a lot of good words. I'd say imaginative, maybe, because I think in order to kind of create these new innovations and revolutions and changes in policies to our current standing society and world we live in, you need to be imaginative and creative and think outside of the box and kind of be able to be different, think different. And, sometimes you might not gain traction from other people, but again, that one person that does help you can really help you make that change and really impact society and the world for the better.
Yeah, that's a good one. What about you, Hayden?
I would say I think imaginative is a great word, but I guess on like a little bit different tangent. I think like holistic and comprehensive, adding that to like the word imaginative, I think that makes like I don't know, the perfect vision. I think that, in understanding that everyone in this whole movement and our future is all interconnected. And especially, important here is the young people, that we're interconnected to what's going to happen in the future, and understanding that and kind of approaching our problems with holistic solutions and comprehensive solutions that think about all people and how all people can be involved and how all people can make a difference, and who's the most important to make a difference, who are the people being impacted the most by this problem, who are the people that are being that are most critical to the solution. And so kind of understanding how that's how we fight climate change, and that's how we create a just and livable world.
Yeah, that's a good one. Holistic. What about you, Ben?
I think my word would probably be determined. I think that as the future just keeps on growing, we keep on getting further and further, the years go on and on, change is going to be an ever-present thing. It's an ever constant variable that is always going to be in our world. And with change, there's always going to be pushback. There are always going to be those who do not support a change, who are pushing back against that change. And I think the biggest thing for people to who are advocates, who want to be advocates, who don't even know that they want to be advocates yet, is to be determined, because there's always going to be someone or a group of people out there who will listen, and you just need to be determined and just keep on going, because that is how change is made in the face of adversity.
That's good. Determined. What about you, Mia?
I think the one word I would use is probably creativity, because if you're going to go into the future with like a boring mind or something, you're never going to make a great future. You're never going to have a perfect vision that you've always wanted. You have to use creativity so that you can make a perfect life for you, for everyone else, so that you can be happy and so can everyone else.
I love that. Creativity and happiness. Yes. What about you, Anna?
I would say mine would probably be community, and adding that to all of your words. we want to come up with creative and imaginative solutions, holistic solutions, and be determined in pursuing those. But I feel like community is also really important so that we can come together and create those ideas together and work towards accomplishing those together, because it's a lot more effective if we're all on the same page, but are also comfortable with sharing those imaginative solutions, sharing those out of the box ideas that are really gonna make a difference.
That's so true. Yes, community. We are a community, and it regardless of where we are, because there is people are around the globe. This belongs to us, and we are a community. I love that. I know we only have 15 minutes left, so we are just going to start wrapping up things. And so I would love to hear, what advice would you give to other youth wanting to ask for a change in their communities? I would love to start with you, Mia, if that's okay.
I would just say don't be afraid to ask for a change, because that's what's right. It might be scary at first, and remember that you're trying to do what's right, and that's all that matters, because you're trying to be helpful in your community, and your community wants you to help. Even if there's some people out there who don't want you, don't listen to them, because they're just going to hold you back, and just they can be like that, but you can make the world a better place if you just ask.
Love that. Just ask. What about you, Ben?
I've kind of been talking about it a little bit throughout this entire conference, but I think the most important advice I can give to youth is to realize that you have a voice, and that you don't have to wait. Now is the perfect time. Any time is the perfect time to begin advocating for change. I didn't think that in 8th grade I would be standing in front of a Senate subcommittee, presenting to these people who, vote on legislation that impacts our entire state. I didn't think that when I started the project. I didn't even think it a week before we went to Richmond. But to kind of realize that you have that power, and that uniting together with other young people, that collective voice is extremely powerful. And just realizing that and taking advantage of that, I think, is really important.
That's amazing. There is a question actually that is kind of connected to it. If you want to give encouragement for a group of 7th graders who are preparing to take more ownership of a program, I think what you guys are mentioning, it's amazing, and that can help Paul. Hayden, do you want to share your piece of advice?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, as I said earlier, people want to hear from you. People want to hear from young people. It's really critical to understand that, not everyone wants to hear from you, and that's just how it is. But people do want to hear from you. People do want to listen to you. And when you're approaching a problem, you want to make sure you know exactly what you want to achieve. I think it's really important for young people to walk in again with that research, but also just a really good understanding of, the problem the problem your community is facing, how you're going to achieve that, and how you're going to do that equitably and feasibly, and who you're going to talk to, identify that problem. And I think, the advice I give to that group of 7th graders is to understand, what exactly do you want to achieve? What is that vision? Again, what's that word that you see in the world you see of your own community, and how can you relate that to a solution, and how can you make sure that that solution is feasible and equitable of the people around you, and also, make sure that you understand the problem and do your research. And I think it's really important to kind of, interconnect all those ideas and put it together. And remember, people want to hear from you. All you have to do is ask. People want to listen to you. People want to involve you. And remember, don't be afraid to try to involve yourself. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone and say, I want to get involved in the work you're doing. Even if there's not a position to do so, just say, I'm interested. Here's what I want to do. Reach out. People want to hear from you. People don't, but focus on the ones that do.
Yeah, just reach out. It's just sometimes hard, to start knocking on doors, but I think it's worth it. The result is always worth it. Raul, do you want to share an advice for other youth?
Yeah, some advice I would give to youth is to kind of work with some like-minded individuals, or try to find some like-minded individuals when tackling your project. For some personal experience, as someone when I started my project, I was kind of traversing the space alone, and it was, a lot more difficult to go approach the school board or principals or teachers when you're alone. And now I have a group of 14, a team of 14 people, and it's definitely a lot easier to kind of go and push for change when you have like-minded individuals helping kind of amplify your voice. And I think kind of what's been touched upon by most people here is to kind of research and educate yourselves on the topic you're presenting, because you are a young student, you're a kid, and when you're approaching adults and decision makers, they know you're a kid, and you're kind of already fighting an uphill battle there by being a younger voice and trying to teach them on something. So being presentable and educated on that topic is beneficial and can only help you. And again, to be persistent. You're young, and adults, most adults don't like being told what to do by kids. It's kind of a idea that you're a kid, you don't know much, which is not the case. But be persistent and know that you'll get some no's, and don't be scared of rejection or getting no's, but to keep pushing forward. And it's just one yes, one support from one adult or change maker is all you need to really make that profound impact in the community or even the world. So, and also celebrate your successes and keep pushing for change and keep going along. And for those 7th graders, I think it's great that you guys are, starting young, having a passion at a young age in 7th grade. It's great that you've identified kind of what you want to do. And similar to what Hayden said, just research, make sure you know everything, all the ins and outs of anything you're trying to achieve, and reach out to decision makers and community leaders and kind of make that change possible.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I just want to highlight Raul started by himself last year, and now he has a team of 14 other students, helping him with his project. And that is just mind blowing. It's just the ripple effect that sometimes our actions can have in our community and inspire others. It's just amazing. Anna, do you want to share some advice?
Yeah, so my advice is don't be afraid to start. You may not feel totally prepared or ready, but that's okay. You may feel like your efforts won't make a difference, but that's not true at all. Even the smallest step towards making a change makes an incredible impact on the world around you. When I started 5 years ago, when I started POP 5 years ago, I could never have imagined how far I'd get in such a short time. It went from the small little project that was focused on creating flyers and activity books to this program that's, internationally award-winning, internationally recognized, on the Disney Channel. I saw in the chat, People Magazine. Really the most important step is the first one, and that's definitely the hardest. But and also part of that is don't be afraid of failure, quote unquote failure. It's true that some people won't accept your ideas. Some decision makers may not support you, like the rest of you said. And that's hard, but it's nothing compared to the number of people that you'll help, that you'll encourage, and the number of people that you'll inspire to do the same thing the moment you decide to start. So,
yeah. Oh, that's amazing piece of advice. I don't know. I bet the audience have as many goosebumps as I am having right now, because it is just amazing to hear from you and how inspiring you are. It's I don't know. It is amazing to me to hear you talking this way, and just the ripple effect it has in your community, all the work that you guys have put in the work that you do. I just want to bring you here and hug every one of you. But anyway, it's really great to hear from you. Is there anything else that you would like to share in this space before we actually go?
I just want to say thank you for inviting me to be on this panel. This has been really, really incredible, and I'm glad I got to be a part of it. So thank you.
That's great. I love having every one of you. Raul, you unmuted yourself. You want to share something?
Yeah, just to add on, thank you so much for inviting me as well. I think it's great to have, a large amount of students or some students here together, and we're all fighting for the same thing or fighting towards climate action in some form or fashion. So I think it's really great to connect like-minded individuals and students together and hopefully we can help inspire some other youth to, start up and make change in their community.
Ben.
Yeah, and just to add on what everybody said, thank you so much for this opportunity. This is a great platform for all of us, and it's great to kind of see such a receptive audience. That's really empowering. And yeah, just to kind of wrap up, if next time you see any sort of youth pushing for change, just reach out and support in any way that you can. And I think that that's a job well done.
Yeah, that's amazing. Hayden, Mia, do you want to share something?
Yes, just thank you so much for having me. It was super fun.
What about you, Hayden?
Yeah, just thank you so much for having all of us. It's great to hear from other people, other youth that are doing great things in their community. And I'll definitely want to talk to some of the people here today because you guys are doing crazy things, and it's great to hear that. And thank you to Earth Force for hosting this wonderful week and this wonderful panel and making sure to uplift youth voices. And I think it's really critical, the work that you all are doing. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'll probably will share your emails, guys, so you can connect, and learn from each other. I think you guys are amazing. And thank you for joining us today, joining this conversation. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your thought. You definitely inspire us. Thank you very much. I just want to remind the audience that tomorrow we'll be having our Caring for Our Watersheds event. So tune in, get your tickets for free. I think, yes, that's the one. You'll be able to find your tickets in there, and they are for free. You'll be able to hear amazing also stories from youth, changing, making projects, in the Chesapeake Bay area. I know that Mia, I think you participated there, so I guess we'll see you tomorrow. I'm not sure about that, but it'll be great to hear from other stories. Thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate you, and great to see you here. Bye.